Hey everybody, this is a study guide for chapter 27 on imperialism. The phrase that best expresses the British foreign policy in the 19th century would be the white man's burden. They believed it was their duty to go spread their culture around the world and their technology. And they also wanted to control the land and make all the money. The French and British were interested in controlling Egypt because its strategic location, and then they'd be able to control the Nile River. And once again, the poem by Rudyard Kipling, The White Man's Burden, and it's basically talking about the negative attitude of European peoples toward non-Western peoples. They thought they were superior, and that is similar to the theory of social Darwinism, and that's basically says that, the theory of evolution was applied to people to justify colonization. The historical development that showed the desire of a group to gain independence from colonial powers would be the Sepoy Mutiny in India, when the Sepoys rebelled against the British officers. You may take a look at a political cartoon, and you'll have a number of people looking at the globe trying to plunder it, the world's plunderers. And that represents the Berlin Conference, where Africa was divided by European powers. You'll see another political cartoon where it says the Rhodes Colossus, and it's basically showing Cecil Rhodes stretching from Egypt to South Africa, and that's a telegraph wire in his hands, showing the British are trying to dominate the continent and other Europeans. What statement about social Darwinism would a social Darwinist support? Well, social Darwinists were racist, and they believed that strong groups have the right to rule weaker groups. And they applied Darwinism to people. The Berlin Conference of 1884 was all about dividing up Africa for European powers. The term empire is defined as territory under the rule of a single authority. And the British amassed a lot of land in their empire. The developments in Africa, what was the cause of the other three? Well, the biggest thing is the Berlin Conference caused rival tribal groups to fight wars. Territories were permanently entangled, and African economies became dependent on the sale of cash crops and raw materials. That's all the result of the Berlin Conference. The Suez Canal in Egypt, why is it important? Because it allows for faster trade between the North Atlantic Ocean and the Indian Ocean. What's another situation that's a result of the Berlin Conference? Africa was divided without regard for the ethnic groups that made up Africa. So that Berlin Conference, it's about the division of Africa, and it did not care about traditional borders. Latin American nations, they relied on cash crop. Why? Because their economies were dictated by foreign powers, and that's never good. The concept of mercantilism. Mercantilism is all about making money. Economic relations between Spain and their Latin American colonies would be shown in mercantilism. The factor that accounts for the existence of a cash crop producers in Central America today, why would that be? The demand for markets for such cash crop, and the biggest thing that's coming out of that area is rubber. Underdeveloped national resources, that's one of the big things. Imperialists wanted to control land because they wanted to take over the natural resources. The usefulness of colonies acquired by Europeans, it was basically to provide the Europeans with sources of raw materials for their factories and markets for the Europeans to sell their goods. And in the 19th century, European nations required their colonial territories to purchase goods from them only. And in France, a major result of the French Revolution, the middle class gained political influence. That's a review question. Peter the Great changed Russia by modernizing. And the Enlightenment philosophers, they believe in the divine right of Enlightenment philosophers argue against the divine right of kings. They believe that power comes from the governed. And self-interest drive people to action. Government should allow each individual to pursue their own goals. That would be the laissez-faire, and just let business be. And finally, history is a struggle between the have and the have-nots. Workers have to overthrow the bourgeoisie. That would be Karl Marx. That would be communism. Watch this study guide as many times as you need. Take your time on the test. Good luck.